Hey, Dean.
Hey, Wags.
What you doing?
I'm ready to drink.
All right.
Lombardi's Legends podcast. We've got a former professional bartender here, Wags. What are you thinking?
I think today we should make a Bernie Blast. And, of course, we're going to be using Leaf Spirits vodka. And then let's just go ahead and get started here, Dane, shall we? So,
let's do it.
First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to put 1.5 ounces of OJ in the bottom of an empty glass.
So this is like a health drink then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to just cover that with ice. And then, now we're going to move over to the side. And if we could come in here and take a close look, we're going to pour in ingredients successively in separate mixing glass. We've got our vodka. Your choice of blue Caraco.
Blue Caraco?
Absolutely.
Do they have green and gold Caraco, do you know?
I don't think it would be necessary for green and gold.
Okay.
As much as I love where your head's at, Dane, it's blue. And then we're going to put in some ginger ale, 4.5 ounces of lemonade. All right. And now we're ready to mix. So if you have a mixer, we can just go ahead. This is an old bartender trick. When you're at your tailgate, just pour it back and forth. We've got our main drink glass with the OJ. We're ready to go.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited to drink some of this Leaf Spirit vodka. Whatever it's in, it's going to be really good. I know that.
All right. And finally, we are going to garnish with a lemon twist.
Okay, there's the gold portion of our green and gold. I like it.
There you go, Dan.
Thanks, Mike. Let me have a sip. It's delicious. Smooth, Leaf Spirits vodka. Terrific. Thank you, Wags.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
Go back, go!
Every year I know we gonna go hard. We been that team ever since Bart started. All my cheese heads go pack go. Ain't showing no mercy, cutting no slack, no. I ain't a bad sport and I'll even wish you good luck. Only thing I will
Dane, you are on mute, so I am going to jump in here. Sorry, Dane was going very high on our special guest this evening, Caleb Jones, offensive tackle for the Green Bay Packers. Caleb, thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know we were talking just before we got on, and we'll dive into off-season, how everything's going as you are relaxing and now don't have to worry about ramping up for the season anytime real soon here. But I think, first of all, we kind of want to take a trip backwards. And Caleb, of course, we're going to get into your journey to the NFL, but first of all, man, what can you say about what it means to be a Green Bay Packer?
Man, that's that's a loaded question. I think it's one of those things where, when you join this organization, it's such a history-packed organization. There's tons and tons and tons of great players, great coaches, great just moments that have been associated with this organization over time, that just to be a part of it and, to work with them in any capacity is an honor. But, you have to wear that G with pride, no matter where you are when you're a part of this organization. That's for sure.
And I'm finally off mute here, guys. So I came in very hot. We've been doing this podcast for years, and I'm still super excited whenever we get to talk to special guests. Caleb, so welcome to the pod, man. Obviously, super stoked to have you. What's your experience been like in Green Bay so far? You're somebody we've been keeping a close eye on since you were able to sign in Green Bay. So what's your experience been? How you liking the city of Green Bay, and just, what's your overall impression so far?
I mean, there's really nothing not to love about this place. That's the thing. I come from a small town. I come from Indianapolis, but like a little bit outside the suburbs. So I come from a place that's, very similar to this, not necessarily as centered around football, more centered around basketball, but very much the small town vibe. You know, it's been a blast being able to come in and work my way up and just, not even collaborate, but just work with so many great players and coaches and just being able to find my own little, I guess, niche, or where it is that I fit in this organization. But it's been fun. It's been great. I don't regret anything. I've really tried to take it all in as it's come to me, and just appreciate this place for what it is. But it is a great town, and I really do appreciate everybody and all that this place has to offer.
Yeah, and Caleb, since you brought it up, I think one of us was going to ask you at some point, but um, being a Hoosier, and as you said, it's definitely big in basketball where you're from. Um, I mean, man, you're 6'9", so I have to imagine there was probably a lot of people pushing you into basketball. Was that something that you really were participated in? Did you play some hoops? Or was it always football for you from the start?
I was pretty split. I'd say all the way until probably my junior year of high school. That's when I really, realized that I'd be able to take it pretty far playing football, not necessarily basketball. Though I had the skill to play basketball, I feel like at a high level, I definitely didn't have the discipline to stay in basketball shape and to run that court, especially not in high school. And I'm glad that I made the decision that I made, because I'm happy to be where I am. But I can hoop a little bit. I don't think it's possible to be from Indiana and not be able to hoop at least a little bit.
Yeah, just really quickly, just a follow up to that. Um, I think you made the right decision as well. But did you ever seriously consider basketball at the next level, or did you kind of settle on football once you got later into your high school career?
I don't think I ever really played at a high enough level to consider it long term. Like I played and I was good, but I wasn't even the tallest on my high school team. I played on a team that's notoriously very good. It's where Greg Oden and Mike Conley went. So I wasn't even like the big dog on that team, even though I was the biggest guy on the team. There was a center that was taller than me. I had a power forward that was 6'6", that could play his balls off. So it was competition was steep. I knew basketball wasn't going to be where I fit in.
Dude, that's not even fair. I that's a huge team.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, so a lot of folks make hay about your height. We think you're a really good football player, not just a big dude. But when did you kind of hit 6 foot? What, you're listed about 6'9". When did you kind of grow into that? Where have you always been a taller dude, or is that something that happened a little bit later?
I was always tall. I've been big my entire life. I was always the tallest in every class that I was in growing up. Yeah, I didn't even hit a growth spurt. I really just grew consistently. I hit about 6'6" my freshman year of high school. Like 13, 14, going into high school, I was 6'6", and I started my freshman year varsity on like playing football. So it was like I immediately had to learn how to handle my body and my body weight at that size and play at a high level, because the Mick in Indianapolis, they actually play some really good ball. So I think that, it definitely helped me, because I've been this size now for so long that like I definitely know how to, I guess, handle my weight a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just kind of continuing along that journey from a football aspect, at least, you head to Indiana and obviously had some success there. Started playing early on, had over 30 starts in your career at Indiana. You had the misfortune, I think, of a lot of guys that were in college at that time of starting right before the pandemic happened and having most of your college career go over the course of the pandemic. So, my question doesn't have anything to do with that, but I'm curious, Caleb, because, you had the experience, the size, the skill set, a lot of the intangibles coming into the league. And then you went undrafted, which I don't know if you thought you were going to be drafted, or if you kind of had a good idea that that might be the route you were going to go. But can you kind of just walk us through what your mental mindset was as you went through that draft process, just knowing that it might have been a little bit more challenging for you and other guys too, to be fair, given the situation that you had to deal with your college ball?
Yeah, it was definitely unique, but I think I kept myself really honest and really realistic. I knew that after the seasons that I had coming out of college and after COVID, that there were definitely question marks that were associated with my name in terms of if he was disciplined enough, if he was committed to the game, and if he could eventually grow out of that and become the player that all these people think that I can be. And I think that a big part of my journey and a part of my process was, going undrafted and making me work for everything that it is that I've, now, I guess you could say accomplished, as little as that is in this league. Um, I knew I was going to be undrafted. I knew I wasn't, going to be a high draft guy. Um, my agent was really honest and upfront with me. I think me having a prior relationship with Coach Buckus and him being the offensive line coach with Green Bay has definitely worked in my favor. Because I'm not sure who would have given me an opportunity had they not, picked up the phone, called, and let me know that they wanted me. But I also think that with that opportunity, me being undrafted and seeing, all the guys that were in our room when I first got there, and eventually working my butt off and proving that I can stick around, stay around, and make something of myself. I think it's just everything happens for a reason. I think that's just all I can say about that. It's just everything happens for a reason. I can't really um, explain why that is, but I think I'm right where I need to be.
So going into that, did other teams reach out? Was it really, do you think it was Coach Buckus? I mean, it's always fascinating, right? Because you hear there's the old adage that, like, is it better to go in the 7th round, or is it better to be undrafted and kind of have an opportunity to choose where you're able to go? So I guess that leads into my question of, were you passionate about coming to Green Bay, or what, were there other options on the table, or, what was kind of the appeal of the Packers?
There were a few other options on the table, but I believe that the Packers were, honestly, it was just the best fit for me. It was the kind of organization that they like to take a chance on guys. They like to develop guys. They like to, if you go in there and you show them that you're willing to work for everything that you earn, then that's the type of organization that you'll fit in. And me and my agent knew that was going to be something that I had to do. I was going to have to work. I was going to have to prove myself. But they knew that once I was able to work and prove myself, there would be a good opportunity for me here.
Yeah, I find your approach and your mental approach, especially, very refreshing. Not everyone that we've talked to necessarily has that, where you've clearly identified some areas that you're working to develop, and you've been successful at developing several of those areas, or you wouldn't have been on the team last year. Clearly, so that's kudos to you for that. I'm kind of curious, as you move from prospect, undrafted free agent prospect, that makes the journey to getting onto eventually making it onto the 53-man roster in your rookie season. Now, kind of looking ahead a little bit, going into year 2, what are some of the areas of the game that you're focused on to continue to develop, so that you can get to where you want to be for as you move forward in your career?
Um, that's a great question. I think that this year in general, I think that I was able to establish a good foundation, a good base, just kind of get my footing and my ground, something that I can build on so I can really start to develop my individual skills. I think that's one of the things as an offensive lineman that's so unique about our job, is that because everyone's a different size, everyone does their job differently. So it's really about finding the best way for me to do my job at the highest level, and that's just going to come with repetition and those live reps, those practice reps, but also in the off season, just really perfecting my craft and getting in the lab. But I think there's a few things in general that will be a focal point for me in developing and maturing as a player that might not necessarily have to do with the physical as much as the mental, as much as, just hammering the playbook, knowing exactly the ins and outs of not just what I do, but what the offense does, what we as a unit are supposed to look like on the field when we're doing the right things, and just learning from mistakes and not making the same mistakes over again. I think there's a lot of things that I can improve on, but I also think there's a lot of things that, you know, I've improved on already, and I just need to continue to hammer.
Caleb, you mentioned the physical, but then also obviously the mental side of it. Something that I think we were both so impressed with in your rookie campaign, especially in camp last year, was your ability to. They were running you on the left side, they were running you on the right side as well. I know you primarily played at right tackle in college, right? But you played some left tackle as well. Do you have any insight into what direction the team's going to be going with you this year? Or, I mean, we know historically the Packers love offensive linemen that can be multifaceted. So, right now, are you expecting to go into camp with the right side and the left side, or what does that look like for you?
To be honest, right now, I have no idea. It was kind of the same thing last year. I really went in having no idea, but I play both. I can play right, I can play left, and I feel fine being at either one, even as far as switching mid-game, mid-drive, whatever that is, just because that's what I'm used to doing. I did it at not only high school, but college as well. So I'm not exactly sure where they're going to have me playing at next year. It really could be either. It really could be either. Like we have no idea. So I'll be prepared for whichever one it is that they decide to put me at, wherever it is.
Yeah, Caleb, I'm just also curious. I always like to ask, is there a particular player that you kind of look at as a comp for yourself, or maybe that you're watching a lot of film on, either on the Packers or around the league, or even historically? So I'm just kind of curious if there's any comps that you have for who you try to model your game after.
Um, I think that's a tricky question because, like I said, every offensive lineman is very different and unique in what they do. But at the same time, I think that my body type, um, I look the most at guys that are also, extremely tall, extremely long. So obviously a Trent Brown, um, in uh, Orlando Pace as well. Just guys that are, big, dominant, um, long, know how to use their hands, know how to use their body, know how to keep people off them, um, keep people away from the spot. I think those are the kind of guys that I gravitate towards watching just because I think there's little things that I can, pick up from their game.
Well, it's interesting. Who you remind me of a little bit just in our conversation, right? Not necessarily style of play, but your teammate Yash Nyman. We've had Yash on a couple times over the years. Good friend of our podcast, and he's somebody that last offseason we were having the conversation. Are you going to the left side, man? Are you going to the right side? What does that look like? And he was talking about some of those challenges. Another really smart guy. Simply just you kind of have a similar vibe. So, in year one for you, Caleb, was there anything that surprised you about the league coming from college to the NFL? Was it speed? Was it anything like that? Or were you pretty, did you feel pretty prepared heading into camp?
Man, it's so crazy how the first year hits you because everything just kind of happens and you're just trying to keep up. Like it's just it's like the world is just moving around you and you're just trying to make sure you don't drown. But honestly, I think the thing that surprised me most, especially when it comes to play, is it's the small details. It's like the really small, intricate details that happen, especially like in the offensive defensive line one-on-ones. Like I'm a real fan of the trenches and the O-line D-line pass rush, and watching not only great offensive linemen but great defensive linemen, just watching that battle because it's almost beautiful. It's almost gorgeous watching an offensive lineman, an offensive tackle, and a defensive end go at it all game long. Just the small things that they do to set up a pass rush, to set up a move, to set up a win. And I think those are the things that surprised me the most, but that I also loved the most and cherished the most about this season was like just those moments that I was able to really battle with some of my teammates or even battle with some of the people that I played against in the preseason games. But just, I don't know. I love that part of the game.
Did you know that the Packer beat writers will actually tweet out during practice the one-on-ones? Like, because I know you guys go like twice in a practice, right? I mean, I know the NFL is like next level pressure, but I always think, man, that's hardcore. You know, Caleb Jones versus Rashawn Gary one-on-one. It's getting broadcast to the world. That's got to be something else.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's fun though, and it's one of those things where I know me and Rashid think about this all the time, but like when we're watching them on Sunday and Rashid and Preston and these guys are absolutely obliterating an offensive line, we're like, man, we go against them every day. Like if we're not getting better, there's no way that anyone else is getting better because we're going against this guy every single day.
Great.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious as you're talking about some of your teammates and some of the interactions and competitions you've had with them. Are there any guys in particular that you've really made a strong connection to on the team, and that has kind of helped you connect and kind of definitely feel at home and more comfortable as you've kind of moved through the process?
I've definitely clung to some of the rookie offensive linemen just because we've been so close together during this process in general. Rashid, Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, Cole Snyder, who got cut, but he was a great guy.
We love Cole. Cole came on the pod. He's a great dude. Yeah.
Everyone loves Cole. You can't not love Cole. Yash is huge. Josh Myers. Me and Josh go way back because we've met a few times prior to even Ohio State days, just back when he was an Ohio boy and I was a Indiana guy. But there's a lot of guys. It's Elton and Dave as well. Jake, the entire offensive line room, man. It's really like a family. Like they look out for you in ways that you don't know you need sometimes.
That's sweet. That's so cool. So we've got a couple folks dropping a couple questions. Thanks for following along, folks that are listening live. Phil's asking, Caleb, do you have any training programs that you're doing with any other players not on the team this year, or what does that look like? What does your off season look like?
It's kind of different for me because it's my first off season, so I'm really trying to feel everything out and just try to figure out what the best method and way for me to get the best work is. So I've been kind of all over the place. I've worked out with a few of my older teammates from Indiana. I've worked out with a few of my really good best friends that play in different leagues. But for the most part, I like to work out by myself. I've always found that I get the best workouts in when I'm just me and a trainer by myself in the gym, and I don't really have to worry about any outside factors, and I can really lock in.
Yep. And Caleb, I was going to follow up on teammates. Good vibes until they make the rookies pick up the check, the first offensive line dinner out, right? I don't know if that's still a thing, or is that something you can look forward to here now in year two, that'll be handed off to some of the other young guys?
Well, I got very lucky this year, being that I was the undrafted free agent, and they drafted a lot of offensive linemen. So it didn't end up getting around to me. There was a lot of guys that paid a lot of money for dinners. And don't worry, I paid more than my fair share to the offensive line room. But no, I didn't have to pay for any crazy expensive dinners. I did pay a hefty amount to the fine board.
So what's the fine board? Explain the fine board, please, to our audience.
Fine board is basically just a set of rules that you have to abide by in the offensive line room that was set by, I don't actually know who it was set by. Probably it's ancient. It's been a thing. So, but yeah, it's just rules, regulations that you have to stick to. And if you don't, then they hit your pockets.
Is that specific to rookies, or is that anybody
in the room? I'm just curious. Who's the biggest offender? Who's got the most fines that they've had to dish out?
It's always rookies. It's always and forever going to be rookies. Rookies pay the most fines because rookies mess up the most. And I'm not going to sit here and lie like we don't. We do. We do, and we were a hard-headed rookie class. It took us a minute to figure it out. Um, but yeah, probably uh, it'd probably be between me or Sean Ryan, to be honest. One of us, probably Sean Ryan, though.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Listen, I want to be mindful of your time. We got a couple more for you. I hope that's okay. One thing I was hoping that that you would tell us about. I know that your girlfriend has an awesome business going on, and just wanted to kind of check in on that. If you don't mind sharing that with our audience, and of course we'll share this, folks, on our Instagram page a little bit later. But Caleb, tell us a little bit about what Sarah's up to.
Yeah, she's actually running this really great business. It's called Game Day Apparel. She makes custom game day gear for pretty much any audience. She's got an Instagram page that she's running at Game Day Apparel _. And if you go in there, you'll see a bunch of different products. Like she sews, she does embroidery, she pretty much does it all. But yeah, it's at Game Day Apparel _ on Instagram. If you wanted to find any of, the designs or any of the clothing that she has going for her right now, it's a lot of cool, dope stuff. And yeah.
So Caleb, that is awesome. Just kind of curious, because I was going to shift to some of the interests that you have outside of football. Has she enlisted you to help, with sewing and putting together some of the designs and that she's got out there, or you kind of just let her run out everything on that side of things?
I like to think of myself as I'm a constructive critique. I don't like to do too much. I don't run the business. But I'm always there in the background just to give a helpful hand or maybe a word of advice sitting out every now and then whenever she needs it. I don't touch an embroidery or a sewing machine. I'm scared of those things for the most part. So nah, that's not me.
I love it. It's so cool. What do you know when you're not on the football field? That's something we're extremely mindful of, right? Is like, dude, you play football, but you're like a person, right? You do a lot of other things. You're a well-rounded individual. What are some of the things you like to do outside of the game? What kind of takes your attention?
I'm extremely family oriented. I've got a great big family back home in Indy, and I like to be around them as much as I can. I've got a fantastic group of friends that I've had for almost 10 years now, that I like to spend a great deal of time with. Spending time with my girlfriend is always on that list as well. Play video games. I feel like I'm a typical 20-something-year-old man. I work out, I play video games, I hang out with my friends, listen to music, just like to be around good vibes, good energy, people that I love.
And Caleb, are you one of those guys that likes to get on, social media and challenge fans to come on and take you on in a game of Madden or 2K or FIFA or something of that nature? Or do you kind of like to keep more of your matches of the private affair?
I like to stay in my own lane. I always think it's if I'm gonna challenge my, fans or put it out there, there's gonna be someone out there that can beat me, and I don't like to lose. So I'd rather not, be up against a fan or somebody that, if I lose and I say something, then I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings. I'd rather just, my friends can take it. I know all of my friends can take whatever it is that I'm gonna throw at them. So I like to keep it, just with them.
See, that's civil. That's smart. I'm going back to Wags and I have had some epic 2K battles over the years, NBA 2K. So I'm just thinking about how angry I still am about a certain Christmas morning game we played.
Yeah. They sting.
So what kind of music are you listening to in the locker room, outside of the locker room? Are you a pumped up kind of guy? Are you somebody that, listen to more chill stuff? We've kind of heard every answer across the board over the years. I'm kind of curious, what mindset you like to have going into a ball game.
Oh, going into a game is very different than any other. If I'm just on a regular day, then I'm listening to something laid back, chill, R&B, just vibey music. But if it's game day, then yeah, I gotta pump it up. I need something with the BPM way up, just bass, a lot of loud music, a lot of just blaring, anything, whatever it is, it's got to be loud.
Yeah, and Caleb, I think it's really interesting when you think about kind of having the inside look in the locker room. I'm kind of going back a little bit to earlier in our conversation, but you've been in plenty of locker rooms, obviously, going throughout your career before you got to the NFL. But can you kind of just share what it was like the first time you stepped foot into Lambeau Field and what that moment meant for you and kind of what some of the sights and sounds were that you took in?
Um, man, it's a crazy day. That first time you step into an NFL facility and it's like you're actually a part of an organization, it really doesn't feel real. Um, Especially when you're walking into a locker room that have so many, just elite players, elite talent, well known, well vetted players. Um, you're always gonna hear Ja. You're always gonna hear Preston. You're always gonna hear those guys, those big personalities in the locker room. Um, but yeah, man, it's just really about finding where it is that you fit, and not stepping on anybody's toes, but making sure that nobody's stepping on yours either. You know, finding where you fit. That's really all it's about. No one in our organization or in our locker room is going to be too macho or too hard-headed to not have a conversation with you. Everybody's going to be cool. For the most part, everybody's humble and approachable, so you don't really have a hard time adjusting in an organization like this.
Caleb, my last question for you, you've been so generous tonight. Thanks for joining. I want to know, going into you got OTAs coming up, and then there's all sorts of stuff, and then camp. What's your mindset going into this off season? Is it different from last year? You mentioned the playbook. You mentioned you're going into this year two. We think you can do a lot of great things for the ball club this year. So I'm just kind of curious, what mindset are you bringing in heading into OTAs camp and earning a spot this year on the Green Bay Packers?
I think it's simple for me. It's just constant and never-ending improvement. I think I have to continue to keep going. I have to continue with the mindset that I had when I first walked in the building. As if it is the first day I'm walking in, I have to prove myself all over again. I have to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward every day, working like a maniac and not accepting that what has happened is good enough, because to me it's not. I've proved a lot to a lot of people, but I haven't proved enough to myself yet.
All right, then, Caleb. Yeah, that's really awesome, and I apologize, but my producer dog is making some noise here in the background. But wanted to just jump you in. Really, really appreciate you joining us this evening. Really great to get a chance to talk to you and give Packer fans a little bit of a better idea of who you are and what you're all about. So really awesome to have you on, and we're looking forward to watching and cheering for you as you gear up here later in the spring and summer for year two.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me again.
Hey, yep. Caleb, before you pop off, can you give us a Go Pack Go?
I got you guys one time. Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go. Caleb Jones, offensive tackle, Green Bay Packers. Thank you so much, Caleb. You're a good one, man. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.
Yep. Thanks, Caleb.
Folks, that was Caleb
right.
Jones. How good was that, Wags? I love this guy. He's a baller. You can tell. He's an NFL football player.
Absolutely fantastic. And Dane, why don't we do this? Let's take a little bit of break, pay some bills, and then let's talk for a few minutes, another segment here after the break. So folks, right now, DraftKings Sportsbook, it's not football season anymore, so we're pivoting to the NBA, and it's time to bring the hoops action the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 and win $200 in free bets instantly. So this is a really great deal going on for a limited time. All new and existing customers can get a no sweat same game parlay every day. To do this, go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, opt in, and place a same game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a free bet back. So, folks, even if you are an existing DraftKings customer, I know we've got a lot of folks out there that have signed up for DraftKings previously. You have an opportunity here to go ahead and take advantage of this offer. And of course, if you're in Wisconsin, you might be a Bucks fan, 12-game winning streak. I think we better go ahead and ride that one as we move forward when the games come back here next Friday evening. So, folks, all you need to do is download the app now and sign up with code TPPN. New customers can bet $5 on the NBA and get $200 in free bets instantly, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And I'm sorry, code THPN. I got thrown off a little bit there. So, folks, go ahead and take advantage of the offer. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See show notes for details. And Dane, I think we lost you there for a minute, but I went
back,
ahead
Wag.
and took care of our read there for DraftKings, so we're all set to go. I'd like to get your feelings, and just recapping that conversation that we just had with Caleb Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb, clearly humble guy, a guy who's going to come in and work his tail off. I wasn't kidding, Wags. He reminds me a lot of Josh Nijman. He's got that path where the Packers, they find guys that they really like, and they work them in, and they find a way to make it work. I mean, even down to the position group. Right, they play the same position. They're kind of both the swing left side, right side. But I think the sky's the limit for somebody like a Caleb Jones. He's a big football player, but he's also a good football player. I think that a year of fine tuning is huge for him. He was had an illness for part of last season, was able to work his way back to the roster and Wags. Now, I really do think sky's the limit for him. He's going to go out and try to earn a roster spot, but I think he's got to be a front runner for one of those 8 or 9 spots coming out of camp. He's just a really good football player who I think is going to get better.
Yeah, he didn't come right out and say it, so I'll say it for him. He didn't take his craft as seriously as he probably thought he should have in his time in college, and I think something clicked for him at some point. Maybe that was towards the end of his college career. I don't know. He didn't specify that. But clearly, I mean, he made the comment that, he enjoyed hoops, but he wasn't willing to put in the effort to be in shape physically or to continue to get better and be able to play that at a high level. So, we're getting someone that has all of the measurables that you'd want, might even be too tall in some ways for an offensive lineman in the traditional sense. But that being said, he's legitimately someone that could be a late bloomer, and the Packers have had the opportunity to bring him in, bring him along, and the fact that he was elevated 53-man roster in the middle of the season last year says a lot about it, dude, because he could have just been a stash on the practice squad all season. So he said, I got better, and he definitely obviously did, or he wouldn't have had the opportunity that he did during the season to be activated. And so I'm really excited. Also, he seems to be humble, as you said, and have that right. The mental approach, I think, actually is more important in a lot of ways than some of the physical parts of this game, because listen, you don't get into the NFL without being an awesome athlete and supremely talented. And certainly there's degrees even at that level. But he's got that foundation and baseline. Plus, I think he has a very realistic and the right approach from a mental side. So I'm excited to see how he continues to develop here moving into year 2. And you're absolutely right. He's got a perfect comp right on the roster with Josh Nijman. I think he basically went a few seasons before he started to play and contribute. So the long game really worked out for both parties. And I think based on the depth that Packers have on this roster at the offensive line position, while you got to be ready at any time, I think they can also continue to take that approach with Caleb as well.
Yeah, I mean, Spot on, Wags. And I'm going to say something, my bold prediction with Caleb Jones is, folks, don't be surprised if he's not playing on Sundays for the Packers sooner rather than later. And I sincerely mean that. This is an offensive line that, David's had some injury issues that are well documented, and the way that they move things around. Zach Tom had a phenomenal year last year, but could they move him inside at some point? Potentially. And as they start to shuffle things around over the next year or so, Caleb Jones could definitely be in the mix if he continues to grow the way that he did. And Wags, I look at it this way with Caleb too, if he continues to grow the way we know that he can and is going to, if he made the team last year out of camp, he's got a real shot at doing it again this year. Right, as they like to identify guys that they can help grow and build, a la Josh Nijman. So really pay attention to Caleb Jones, number 72 for the Packers in camp. He's somebody that caught a lot of people's attention, I thought, last training camp, and going into this year, I have no reason to think that won't be the case again. It really was genuinely exciting to have a chance to talk to him today, because I think that he's got a bright future with the organization. He's a Packer person. He's the kind of guy that you want to have on the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. And he seems to be very passionate about the game of football. Yeah. And in addition to some of the physical and mental aspects that we talk about, that's not an underrated thing either, because that tells me that he's going to enjoy going to work every day, even when some of those days really are a grind, both in the off season and in season. And so I think those are the guys that have a chance to really separate themselves, because you're splitting hairs when it comes down to it, and the front office has to start making decisions on personnel and who's going to fit best both this year and in the long-term future. Guys that really love football and put in the time and put in the effort behind the scenes, the front office and coaches know who those guys are. Yes. And they're going to get the edge every time. You can't fake it. Those guys are going to get the edge every time. You go up and down this Packer roster and look at some of the quote unquote long shots that have kind of come onto the scene over the last few seasons. And it's a common theme, and it's not unique just to the Packers. Certainly, you could probably go to 31 other teams in the NFL and have similar stories. But I think you've said it perfectly, Dane. Caleb Jones is a guy to watch, and I love that he came on and gave everyone out there who maybe isn't as familiar with his story, that listens to us at least, an opportunity to hear and see what he's all about, because I couldn't agree more. I think he's primed for one of those year two jumps. Yes. And while he may not be, coming into the season starting on this offensive line, I'm not going to sell him short, because as you said, injuries happen. So as it did with Josh Nijman, if he's ready to go and has the opportunity and he needs to jump in there as that next guy up, he could be a real key contributor at some point this next season.
Yeah. Wags, we're humming along, man. How fun was that? It's just fun to be able to talk to Caleb. Folks, Lombardi's Legends podcast, we love doing this thing. We're going to continue all off season long. We've got, we're going to be talking free agency. We're going to be talking, the draft. We're going to be talking camp and all the other things all in between. So the off season is not really an off season here with our podcast. So just really appreciate everybody joining us, listening. I hope you enjoyed Caleb Jones. He's somebody that I think that we're really going to be rooting for this off season going into the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap things up here this evening, as always, be legendary and go Pack,
go. Pack, go.
Every year I know we gonna go hard. We been that team ever since Bart started. All my cheese heads go Pack go. Ain't showing no mercy, cutting no slack, no. I ain't a bad sport and I'll even wish you good luck.